we're used to the flooding. We've seen the flooding. But when you drop a hurricane in the mountains of western North Carolina, we knew the infrastructure wasn't going to hold it. We knew going in we were going to have to pull resources. And that was the hardest thing to get our heads around, is where we're going to pull this from. If this hits, what are we going to do? Just leading up to, I kind of felt like we were as prepared as we could be, but in the back of our mind, we all knew that if it hit, we were going to be in trouble.
The county manager said it could be catastrophic, and I was like, what? And he said, this storm has the potential to be catastrophic, and we hadn't really discussed that, and it's 5 o'clock on Thursday, and the storm was coming sometime, Friday morning or Thursday night. So I was like, man, we are in for it. And we didn't have a lot of resources. We weren't really prepared. We didn't have our heads wrapped around. I was sleeping on the concrete floor. He comes in at like 4. He's like, hey, let's go drive around and see what's going on. It's starting to rain pretty steadily. It was a little windy. And maybe like a half an hour into it, we just started getting calls. And, we were just in it then. We were in the middle of it. We didn't even know it. And it was hard to absorb the enormity of it because we were in it.
The first call was about 5:30. It was a tree down up behind the State Employees Credit Union. It was a huge poplar, and it was right through the middle of the house, and we got them out, and they were going towards Estito to their one of their parents' houses.
Yeah.
So I'm starting thinking, this is early and this tree's down. This may be more than what I'm comprehending. And then we got sent to Estito at Brushy Creek, the trailer park, and it typically floods there again. It's one of the areas that floods numerous times, and it's pretty much gets up and runs through the lot, and people get nervous, and we evacuate them out. Done it several times.
Many times.
Yeah.
And but when we got there, it was like, oh no, this is really serious. There's 4 feet of water at that point into the sides of the trailers, and people were in the trailers, couldn't get out. I never dreamed it would have been at that level. But seeing what we'd had in the past, and 04 was catastrophic.
Right.
No, 04 now was a pain. This was catastrophic.
Right.
And me and this guy from Nightdale. He and I we were trying to get this rubber raft out, and it had kind of a big motor on it, so it's heavy. We're trying to. We're all wet and soaked, and so me and this guy, we're about a little bit further away from Josh and I.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I feel something like brush me, and bam, this big 10-inch tree came.
It was a big locust. I was sitting in the truck, turning the truck around, and I see a motion behind me. I thought, what was that? So I get out, and they're standing there, and their eyes are about this big, and they're going, and it comes down and hits the guy from Nightdale, hits his shoulder, and pushes him over on top of Bill. And they're both going, well, that was the first tree we saw that really go down.
Right.
And it hit home, and I said, Bill there was that instant of this is serious, and we dodged a major bullet.
Right.
2 inches to the right would have crushed him.
It's all over the service. There's 7 departments in Mitchell County. You could pull all 7, and they all have those stories.
We actually get blocked in. The creek had got up in the road below us, and there's so many trees above us. We were isolated. So I'm making contingency plans to get out, have somebody come pick us up, and there was a break, a 30-minute break in the rain, and the water went down enough that we could get out of Brushy Creek back to 19. And I was listening to radio traffic. Parkway was running calls like crazy. Ledger was running calls like crazy, and they were hollering for mutual aid. And over the calls in our district, they were hollering for mutual aid, and it was all scattered out so much and so thin that I'm thinking, yeah, this is going to get serious, and this has got way serious than I could comprehend 5 hours ago.
You also got to look at this from our dispatch center's perspective. Is they dispatch everybody in the county: police, sheriff, EMS, and the 7 fire agencies. And I don't what do they have in there? 3, 4 people.
I want to say it's 3 people.
Yeah, so they got 3 people in there answering phones for a while, and then just the enormity of the radio traffic. So there's 3 dispatchers in there, and I'm sure they called people back, and I don't know everything, but man, that had to be stressful in there. And that's the thing about in a dispatch center. You hear a lot, but you never know the outcome. So, they're in there, they're hearing all this, and, Kevin's group, Parkway's calling, we're calling, and, for resources, we got people trapped in trees and all that kind of stuff, and they don't hear the end of it. So, that's another agency I don't think gets enough enough credit.
We're starting to make decisions. There's 7 men that hold the volunteer fire chief position for Mitchell County that are having to make decisions that have never been made before.
When it first started, me and Hudson, my son, works in Marion, we were texting, and he was saying 58 calls. I said, that's all right, we're up to 62 calls. 103 calls. Well, we're up to 107 calls. I think he sent me a text at 120 some calls in McDowell County, and phones went out.
And that was the first big test for the Viper system that we use now. And the problem was it was education, because this won't make any sense to you, but maybe some people that watch it later, you key that radio and you get a bonking noise. Well, it aggravates you, so what do? You keep hitting it.
Right.
So every time you bonk, it puts you in the back of the queue. So what you're supposed to do is key it, and you get that alert that says, hey, you don't have permission to talk yet, and wait, because it's puts you in a queue, and it'll give you the talk alert when you're available. So man, everybody just keep bonking that radio. So we were bogging the system down even more. But once we got some, like I said, it was a test for us.
Right.
Once we got some education out there, I was like, hey guys, once you get that bonk, don't hit it again, because you're out there, you're in no man's land. There's trees falling all around you. There's people you've not even talked to. You're going to a house that looks like there's no way there's somebody that could be alive, but yet there's still people in there. And you're trying to talk to somebody to get the resource you need, but you just get this bonk.
It's something when you look back, just like with the town, you look back at it, how we made it through it is just, it's the good Lord, because never experienced in the job part not having any access to anybody,
right,
or being able, with my job, what we do, you got to have a radio,
right.
But at that time, we had nothing. No communication with anybody.
And the first town employee I seen was Travis drive up my driveway and knock on the door and said, well, we got a problem. And did we ever have a problem?
So my day started at little after 3 a.m. A couple of Casey's officers called me and said the road is washing away where the culvert goes under the road between Ingalls and Jeff Harden's building. So I came in, met them there, looked at the road, took back off to the stake shed to get some barrels, block it off. Right. We'll deal with it come daylight. A couple of my guys had made it to work, Jason and Tommy, and they met me down there with chainsaws, and we went to cutting. I stepped out of the backhoe to go talk to them. When I stepped out, 3 poplars came off the bank from behind the apartments into the backhoe. The last phone call I got out was to Darlene, which was the town manager then, and she could tell by the sound of my voice that it was not a good time here. I made it to Phillips, and it sounded like a freight train coming around Phillips' house.
Right when I got to town that morning, I don't know what time it was, the water was up, but I just remember going down on the bridge side on Lower Street there, on the barbershop side, coming down in front of the News Journal there, and me and I think it was Matt, and we got out of the car and just stood there and seen where the water was and looked across. The walking bridge was gone, but you could look straight across over to where the Y is now, and just pure water. Never imagined anything like that in my life. Just crazy to see that.
So we came back into town 12 o'clock. So we hadn't seen anything of Spruce Pine. We'd seen Brushy Creek and Penland. And so as we come back into town, and it was just all of a sudden a holy, whatever you want to say, Spruce Pine was underwater.
There was a lot of cowboy stuff went on for the first 48 hours. We were putting bolt cutters on high voltage power lines, 80,000 volts. We're taught stay away from power lines. Man, we were going through cutting power lines like they were butter noodles just to get to people.
Right.
There was no way they could be power on it, but we were having to break golden rules and tell our people, do what you got to do, be safe about it.
Yeah.
We did so many things that you would never, ever do.
We did break a lot of golden rules, but it's hard to tell people like us. I think you got 3 people here that are truly dedicated to their profession. To tell them to come back, it's tough.
Every road was either you had to walk up it or you had to have a 4-wheel drive to go up it.
Right.
And for us, the hardest part, the only thing I could think of was, we getting pairs. And at that time, we had something I didn't think we'd ever have to do, was we had to get a bunch of chainsaws, and we had to get about every chainsaw we could find, and everybody put a chainsaw in the back of their car, their truck, and go in pairs. And what we did, we made in the office, we made a big list of the roads, and what we do, pair it up, and we went road, door to door. Everybody pick a road. You go to door, check on, see if people's okay.
Yeah.
And then we tied a ribbon or something on the mailbox to say, hey, we checked this house, keep going.
Right.
So we checked this road, and then when you get done with the full road, they went back to the office, put it on the board, not knowing who was hurt or who, we were just going door to door, something that didn't think you'd ever have to do.
I think all day Tuesday after the storm, I had some of your guys with chainsaws and me following behind them with a Traco, whatever they were cutting. I just grabbed and tossed to the side.
I mean, it's like end of the world type. It really was. I mean, it was just I don't know, just go to the basics. Just a human life of just checking on people.
Right.
I mean, because you didn't have radios or nothing, so even if you found somebody, when we found somebody that was sick, hurt, it's either you carry them out, try to get them in the vehicle, get to the hospital, or what. But it wasn't. We couldn't call. We couldn't get out on the radio and say, "Hey, this residence is," We just had to do it ourselves.
I stole a loader from Corks Court.
Yeah.
And I went to moving trees. My first thought was the Brown Center and the hospital. And so I went to moving trees, wherever I could get trees just to get to the path through town and path around. Or if we had that was a huge blessing. In the next 6 weeks, we didn't have a fire call.
Yeah.
That was a godsend that we didn't have an actual structure fire for 5-6 weeks. There's probably not a 6-week period in Spruce Pines Parkway's time frame in the past 10 years we hadn't had a structure fire of some kind.
It was probably about 10-12 hours after the water rescinded down, and we were checking houses. There's this one house that I always go back to. It's this old man. He's probably early 90s, maybe. Him and his wife lived way up at the end of a road, and we got up there, and I'll never forget, the guy was when I pulled in, there was a little shed at the end of the driveway, and there was, like I said, old, probably 1900 house, and the guy was in his underwear, the old man, and he was down there trying to get wood. He had a wood stove, and he was down there, had maybe 2 racks of wood down there, and he had 2 pieces of wood in his hand. And luckily at that time we had, it's either Raleigh PD, one of them, another agency with us.
Right.
So I had like 3 or 4 guys behind me. So we just pulled up and we all got out, and I mean, it was cold. It was like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And got out, and we loaded wood and took it up on his porch. And now the house was hot on the inside, but he didn't have any wood on the porch. And I just think about that, them old people there couldn't get out, couldn't get hold of their family, nothing like that. And
L&L Furniture, huge. Burleson's was huge. Of course, KC was huge.
Yeah.
Shout out Kenneth, man.
David and Stephanie opened up their building, and they were sending people out. I've got a group, and I don't want to mention them because I'll forget somebody. But the ones that Bill said who come to the station and we sent out, and some are family members, and they just went wherever, clearing the road.
I've never seen in my life as many clothes and diapers. We have more diapers in Spruce Pine that we could have. We
could have diapered babies for 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen that much.
And enough bottled water to where we could all took a shower.
I never realized they bottled that much water.
But our wives, they become. They used to be a ladies' auxiliary in the fire service. It's still a thing. You just don't see it as much because, let's face it, they have to work. A lot of times, wives didn't have to work.
Right.
But so they would go to the station. It's like we would leave. We'd start doing our operations for the day, going out and checking houses and doing things. And so we were serving 3 meals a day. I can't tell you for how many days. Man, we just become a hub. And what I'm trying to get out, and it's nothing of our wives. It's what the community done, because they fed the out-of-state resources for weeks.
Yeah.
Before we got that FEMA camp set up that started feeding. And there's so much more that goes into that. But had it not been for the community saying, you know what, we're not worried about our loss.
Right.
Here it is, take it.
Right.
So they fed the firemen. I don't know who all come. But if you could get to us, you were going to get a meal. And that building, even though there was mud in the floor and it stunk and we had fans going, it became a place of hope.
This community came together, and I mean, it wasn't just this one.
Yeah.
It was this one. It was Burnsville.
Yeah.
It was all over the place.
What I want to say is thanks to every volunteer in the whole county that gave their lives, gave their time, no pay. They were just there because they cared about the community and their fellow man. But that went on everywhere, and that's just remarkable for people not getting paid, and they just do it for the love of their community and the fire service.
You know, the brotherhood is stronger today than it was this time last year because of it.
Yeah.
I think we're much more prepared. Even if it happened tomorrow, we're much more prepared on how to handle it.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Just by going through it.
Right.
I mean, because nobody here sitting at this table, nobody that's got involved in this was prepared for that. They could have tried to be prepared for it, because you're not going to prepare for something like that. I don't care what anybody says.
I just got to brag on the people that surround us. I mean, you've got 3 people in this room talking, but if it weren't for the volunteers and if it wasn't for the officers that stand right there beside us, we would have failed.